Praise be to God, there is no other God except God. There are three main apparent contradictions between me and Rashad, which the disbelievers use as excuses to discredit me. I address each of them in three separate Friday sermons. This is one of them. In this video, I deal with the issue of prayer times, what Rashad said and what I say. They claim that I contradict Rashad in this issue. Well, let's see if it's true. First, it is true that in his English translation of the Quran, Rashad did say that there are 5 daily contact prayers. However, he also signed this book for a specific time and location. Look at this. It says Tucson, Ramadan 26-1409, which is the 2nd of May 1989. So his statement about the 5 daily prayers is true if you apply it on the 2nd of May 1989 in Tucson. Someone might wonder, doesn't his statement extend to all times and all locations? Well, not necessarily. Let me take another example to show you what I mean. In footnote 1315 of that same translation, Rashad said that the peculiar shape of the planet Earth causes the 4 seasons. So he said that there are 4 seasons. Well, that's true in Tucson, but it's not necessarily true for all locations. Check out this map. It shows that certain regions on Earth have 4 seasons, summer, autumn, winter, spring. But other regions on Earth have only 2 seasons. For example, the Arctic has only 2 seasons, polar night and polar day. And the tropics also have only 2 seasons, the wet and the dry season. So as you can see, when Rashad in Tucson said that there are 4 seasons, his statement does not necessarily extend to every location on Earth. In some other locations, there are only 2 seasons. In the same way, when Rashad in Tucson in the month of May said that there are 5 daily prayers, that does not necessarily extend to all locations on Earth and all times of the year. Nevertheless, the question is, regardless of what Rashad said in May in Tucson, had he traveled to Sweden during winter, for example, would he still say that there are 5 prayers per day? In other words, if we talk about all locations and all times, could we still say that there are 5 contact prayers per day? And the answer is, it depends what you mean by the word day. And this is where it gets confusing, so let me explain. There are many definitions of the word day, but I'm going to mention only the 3 relevant ones here. Definition 1, Quranic day. There are actually 2 definitions of the day in the Quran, Nahar and Yawm, but here I'm only using one of them. When I say Quranic day, I mean the time period from the beginning of dawn until the end of evening. Anything which does not include full darkness. Definition 2, sky light cycle day. This is Rashad's definition, which is a mix of definitions 1 and 3. He sort of understood it like the Quranic day, but he also included the night in the English definition. So when he said day, he meant from full darkness to full light and back to full darkness, the sky light cycle. Definition 3, calendar day. This definition is a time period of 24 hours, regardless of what happened with the brightness of the sky. So basically, every time the date in the calendar changes, we count it as one day. January 1 is one day, January 2 is the second day, and so on. Calendar day. So these are the 3 definitions of the word day, and for each of these definitions, the answer is different when we want to describe how many prayers per day should be done. Let's start with definition 1, the Quranic day, which is from dawn to evening. In the equator, there are 4 prayers in a Quranic day: dawn, noon, afternoon, and evening. But it does not include the night prayer. However, that does not mean that there is only 1 prayer left during the Quranic night, because the Quranic night, again, includes evening and dawn. The night and the day merge according to the Quran. So dawn and evening are both part of the night and part of the day. So during the Quranic night, there are 3 prayers: evening, night, and dawn. So if we use the Quranic definitions for night and day, the correct way to say it is that there are 3 prayers during the night and 4 prayers during the day, which is 7. But 2 of them are duplicates, dawn and evening. So 7 minus 2 is 5. So the correct way to express it is to say that there are 5 prayers during a Quranic night and day cycle. And this is the correct way of saying it. But this does not mean that there are 5 prayer times during a calendar day, because the calendar day and the Quranic night and day cycle do not always match exactly in length and depth, which I will explain later. But now let me continue with definition 2, Rashad's English definition, which is a hybrid between the Quranic day and the calendar day. Rashad's definition of the word day is simply the same as the Quranic day plus Quranic night. So the understanding of it comes from the Quran, but the length is more similar to the calendar day in most cases. In most cases, it's 24 hours, but not always in some regions of the earth. I call Rashad's English definition a sky light cycle day. Basically, every time the sky goes from full darkness to full light and back to full darkness, you count it as one day, regardless of how much clock time has passed. So, if we use this definition of the word day, then there are 5 contact prayers per day, as Rashad said. This is correct. However, most people do not use this definition of the word day. That's his definition. When people today ask how many prayers per day there are, they want to know how many prayers during each calendar day, during each 24 hours. And the answer for a calendar day is different, because it is not true that there are always 5 prayers during each calendar day. So there are 5 prayers during a Quranic day and night, and there are 5 prayers during a sky light cycle day, Rashad's definition of day. But this does not automatically translate into 5 prayers during a calendar day, because the calendar day is not always the same length as a Quranic day and night, and it is not always the same length as the sky light cycle day. So now let me continue with definition 3, the calendar day. The calendar day is a period of 24 hours, regardless if the sky has turned dark or not. So how many prayers should there be during a calendar day? Well, the answer depends on the location and the time of the year. And all we have to do is to see for that location and that time of the year, how long does the Quranic day and night last within those calendar days. So that period of time of the Quranic day and night must include all the 5 prayers. But if that Quranic day and night lasts for several calendar days, that's fine. God designed it like that for a good reason. We are still including all the 5 prayers in that Quranic day and night, or Rashad's day. But if that means that there are 4 or 3 prayers during 24 hours, it doesn't matter. Because the Quranic day and night is not a period of 24 hours. It is a period from full darkness to full light and back to full darkness. Let me take an example. Let's say you live in Frankfurt, for example, which is 50 degrees north of the equator. On the 30th of May, for example, a full Quranic day and night happens within 24 hours. So you have to implement all the 5 prayers within that 24 hours, within the 30th of May. However, then the 1st of June comes, and it does not get completely dark on that day. So now, even though the first calendar day of June passes, the full Quranic day and night does not happen. Only portions of it happened. But it does not complete the cycle. This means that you can only implement a portion of that 5 daily prayers. In that case, the dawn comes, and the noon comes, and the afternoon comes, and the evening comes, but the full night does not come. So you only do the dawn prayer, and the noon prayer, and the afternoon prayer, and the evening prayer, but it's not possible for you to do the night prayer. So it's not me who is stopping you from doing the night prayer. It's impossible to do the night prayer. The night did not come. And this does not contradict the Quran, because if you believe that there must be 5 prayers in a Quranic day and night, or Rashad's definition of the word day, they just didn't happen. The full Quranic day and night did not happen. And Rashad's definition of the word day did not happen. Meaning they didn't complete yet. They take longer or several calendar days to complete. And remember, his definition was from full darkness to full light and back to full darkness. But full darkness did not happen. So you cannot say that I'm not doing 5 prayers in a Quranic day and night. Because it is simply taking the Quranic day and night longer to complete. And when the night finally comes on the 12th of July in Frankfurt, only then do we count it as one Quranic day and night. And then we do the 5th prayer. So this Quranic day and night lasted from the beginning of June until the 12th of July. And during that period, I implemented all the 5 prayers. So you cannot say that I'm not doing 5 prayers within Rashad's day, which is a Quranic day and night. I do all the 5 prayers within a Quranic day and night. But it's not my fault if that Quranic day and night lasts longer than 24 hours. So there is no contradiction here. I'm implementing exactly the 5 prayers which should happen within Rashad's definition of the word day. But it's not my fault that his day length does not always match with the calendar day. So it's wrong to say that I do not do 5 prayers per day. I do exactly 5 prayers every day, if by day you mean Rashad's definition of day. And again, I do exactly 5 prayers every day and night, if by day and night you mean the Quranic day and night. So I completely agree with Rashad and the Quran. However, if you are going to define the day as a calendar day, which most people do, then I sometimes do 4 prayers or even 3 prayers, only in certain northern locations of the world, only during certain times of the year, which I clearly explain when and where they happen. So all I'm doing is telling you how to implement the 5 prayers per Rashad's day into calendar days. And to help you with that implementation, I published a video clarification titled Times of Contact Prayer, where I tell you during each calendar day, for every location on earth, how many of the 5 prayers apply. And that all depends on how much of Rashad's day applies in that situation, or on how much of the Quranic night and day applies in that situation. So all I'm doing in that video is presenting the 5 prayers in a calendar day situation, which is how people today want to know them. Because most people understand the day as a calendar day, a 24-hour period, and not as a Quranic day and night, or as Rashad's English definition of the word day. So there is no contradiction here. We are simply speaking about 3 different types of days. The Quran in Arabic was using the definition of the day to match it to the Arab understanding. Rashad expressed it into semi-Quranic and semi-English understanding, and I'm expressing it for you in a calendar day understanding, which is how the modern world speaks about it. So there's no contradiction here because we are talking about 3 different time periods. In some locations on Earth near the equator, they are the same length. But in other locations during deeper winters, they are just not the same length. In fact, it would be a contradiction if we all said that we should do 5 prayers every day, and then our definition of the word day was different. Then it would be a contradiction. But it's not. So if you took me to Tucson in the month of May, I would do exactly 5 prayers at the exact times when Rashad did them. I don't see any contradiction here. And if you took Rashad to Frankfurt in June, for example, he would take some time to think about it, but after analyzing it, he would end up doing 4 prayers in each calendar day, but that would still mean that he did 5 prayers per Rashad's day, which in that case simply takes longer than a calendar day. And because Rashad never lived in Frankfurt or in Sweden or in any of those northern regions, then he did not have to implement this situation. But I have traveled in these northern regions, like Germany, Sweden, UK, Netherlands, and this meant that I had sufficient reason to think about it more carefully, and eventually realized that it's okay if the calendar day and the Quranic day and night do not always match. We should stick to 5 prayers per Quranic day and night. And if that does not match with the calendar day, no big deal. We implement the Quran, not people's calendars. I express it in calendar days if I need to, so people can understand it in English, but ultimately I make the decision based on the Quranic day and night. And each Quranic day and in each Quranic day and night, every single time, in every location, I am responsible for doing all the 5 prayers. By the way, God knew that people will use many different definitions of the word day, in different languages and in different eras, so he completely circumvented this problem by not mentioning the number of prayers per day at all in the Quran. God solved this confusion by simply telling us the specific prayer times and when they happen, and he did not mention the total number of prayers per day at all. And if we just implement the prayer times as specified in the Quran, and as Rashad himself believed, then we will be in total agreement. For example, Rashad said that the night prayer should be done when the twilight disappears. If we just implement this, then we will always get it right. Whenever the twilight disappears, we do the night prayer. But if it doesn't disappear, then we don't do the night prayer. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I am simply not changing anything which Rashad said, and implementing it in all circumstances without any modification. In fact, people who insist on doing a night prayer, even when the twilight does not disappear, they are the ones who are going against Rashad and against the Quran. They think that they are preserving the number of prayers, but they forget that even when you don't do the night prayer because the twilight did not disappear, you are still preserving the number of prayers per day. It's just that the Quranic day and night cycle took longer, and you do the 5th prayer when its time comes. So you would still be doing 5 prayers per day, per Rashad's day, or per Quranic day and night. 5 prayers per Quranic day and night, every time. This is the true preservation. So if you took me and Rashad and Muhammad and Abraham and took us everywhere on earth at each time of the year, we would always end up doing the prayers at exactly the same time, without any disagreement. So I don't see any contradiction here. The illusion of contradiction emerges from the fact that I simply clarified for the modern people how the Quranic days and nights fit with the calendar days, which is what the modern people use when they talk about days. So I was simply translating from the Quranic to modern English. But there is no difference in what we actually do in practice. Without even talking about it, if Muhammad, Abraham, Rashad, and I were sent to Oslo, for example, Without talking to one another, we would end up doing all the prayers at the same time, simply by looking at the sky, checking if the Quran criteria for that specific prayer time is fulfilled, and then implementing each prayer in its own time period, without talking about 5 or 4 or 3 or 2 and things like that. So even without understanding how the calendar days and the Quranic days and nights correlate with one another, which I do, but they wouldn't have to, we would still get the correct answer, all of us, if we simply know the definition of each prayer time, without focusing on their number. And I give the definition of each prayer time in the end of my other video titled Types of Contact Prayer. And let me present that same table again here. So here it is. So we have the dawn prayer, the noon prayer, the afternoon prayer, the evening prayer, and the night prayer. And they each have a specific time when they start and end. And I don't see any contradiction here between me and Rashad, because these are the 5 prayer times in which he believed in, and these are the 5 prayer times in which the Muslims traditionally believed in, and exactly the 5 prayer times which are described in the Quran, when you take all the verses of the Quran into consideration. There's nothing new here. God has guaranteed to preserve the contact prayers and their times to keep the religion of Abraham intact, and he has done that. If I introduced something new about this issue, that would be wrong, because this is a traditionally preserved issue. It's all old stuff. I'm only telling you how that old stuff fits in the new modern calendars, which use the calendar day as a definition of the day, and not the Quranic day as the definition of the day.